thank you all for joining in. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this webinar series called Go Further with Zoho CRM. My name is Vagdevi Ravishankar. I'm from the CRM user education team. My team and I will try and navigate you through all things, all the top functionalities that were introduced in CRM over the past year in this webinar series. So before that, first things first, we are recording this session, so don't worry if you think you're going to miss something. A copy of this recording along with the slide deck and a few other resources will be emailed to you post this series. And during the webinar, if you happen to have any questions, please keep them coming on the left-hand panel. You have a Q&A tab and you can keep your questions coming in. And we have a team of experts who will answer your questions as you keep them coming in. If you still need further assistance, please email us at crm-useredu@zohocorp.com and we'll be happy to assist you. All right. So with no further ado, let's get right into the session. So what is the series about? Now, let's say you have any work project or a personal project. Whenever we take up something, a project of our own, we always crave a sense of completion, right? A sense of perfection. Whether it's adding that final icing on the cake or taking a couple of steps beyond that finish line while you scale that finish line. It is those final touches that give us a sense of accomplishment and perfection, right? Your CRM adoption is no exception. So you may have a functional CRM setup, but do you have that icing on the cake? What does it take to walk that extra mile to make sure that you use your CRM to the fullest and close more deals faster, right? So that is what we are here to talk to you about. So we are here to introduce all those features and functionalities in CRM that make your configurations and your usage a little more complete and a little more perfect than it is today. So that is this 3-part webinar series. That's what this is all about. To give you some highlights onto what I mean by walking that extra mile and making it more perfect. Consider your admin configurations. So today you have a bunch of configurations. How do you keep it clean? How do you keep it optimized? It's like sharpening that knife and keeping it at the ready all the time. So how do you make sure that your configurations in CRM are robust and relevant? And how do you make sure that all your CRM configurations have a very low failure percentage? So when you deploy to the production setup, you want them up and running and working right. So you need to have that cushion for failure. You need to test them before you deploy them. So we have added a lot more functionalities to Sandbox to keep your configurations safe, right? So these are some ways to streamline configurations and keep your system functional. So that is going to be part of this series. And you can now extract finer insights from your CRM database. So you already have a lot of dashboards and analytics. And in order to make that finer, for example, you have, if your revenue is dipping, or if you're having very low percentage of closed deals, what is it that is causing that loss? What is the reason for that loss? Are you able to pinpoint that? Perhaps not today, but today you can. We have very special enhancements which will help you exactly narrow down at why you lost a particular deal, and that insight goes a long way in helping you fix those issues, right? So that is those are some examples of finer insights that you can draw from CRM today. And you have another instance is a web form. You may have a web form out created from CRM. You may have that particular web form on multiple pages across your website. The same contact us form could be on your home page, could be on a footer of your about us page, and your main contact us form and all of that. So if you have the same form, how is it doing in each of these different pages? So your web form analytics by page is something you can do with CRM today. Like they say, the devil's in the detail. It may seem like it's a small detail, a small thing, but it goes a long way in making your CRM more productive, in making sure that everything is perfect. So these are some examples. Also, when is the right time to act? When is the right time to talk to your customer, and what do you tell them? What is the context of what should the context of that conversation be? So these things can be given to you by our artificial intelligence capabilities. right? And you can now widen the communication scope is now widened. You have your multi-channel communication. You may have telephony, you may have live chat, you may have these channels. To widen the scope, we now have built-in telephony setup available in Zoho CRM. You can create your own telephony setup, and you can streamline the operations of portal engagement in your CRM system. So these are some examples of how communication scope has been widened. And you can, of course, leverage the power of AI in understanding the sentiments and needs of customers even before you can reach out to them. Right? Zia has the power now to analyze and give you sentiment analysis, emotional analysis, intent analysis, and so on. So these are all some highlights. These are just, I'm throwing in some hints to tell you what it is that you're going to expect in this webinar series across these 3 days. So that is what this series is all about. It's about going further with Zoho CRM. And to make this easier, we have compartmentalized this series into 3 main subjects. One is go further with CRM management. How can you make your system a little more robust and productive? That is something we're going to look at right now, today. Kiran Karthik from User Education team will walk you through this. Tomorrow, on the same lines, we will have Sharanya taking you through the latest enhancements in customer engagement. And finally, on Wednesday, we'll have Sohail briefing you about what it is that we have added in the communication department of Zia. Artificial intelligence, how you can enrich customer conversations with the insights of artificial intelligence tool, which is Zia. So these are what we have in store for you. So please stay tuned and do be present on all 3 days. And now that will ensure that you have that perfect icing on the cake and that you walk the extra mile, in your CRM adoption race. And without further ado, let me hand over the mic to Kiran Karthik, who will now brief you about how you can make your CRM more productive right away. So over to you, Karthik. Thank you.
Yep. So, hello everyone. My name is Kiran, and it's great to have all of you here with us. We have people from all over the world. I'm pretty sure I saw a lot of people from Sri Lanka, probably a lot of countries in Europe. I think one from Kenya. So, yeah, it's great to have all of you here. So, why did we put together this webinar series? It's for one purpose only, and that's to help you extract maximum value from your Zoho CRM subscription. Now, once you've purchased Zoho CRM, you can go about using it in 2 ways. The first approach is to configure and customize your CRM during the implementation phase, and then use your CRM with little to no change for the rest of its lifetime. Now, you do get value from this approach, especially when you compare it to using a spreadsheet or a non-CRM tool. But what we would recommend is a second approach, where even after the implementation phase, you continue to tune your CRM, you continue to tweak it in order to extract maximum value from it. Now, one obvious way to do this is to make use of the new features and enhancements that are released throughout the year and that are available as part of your CRM subscription. Granted, not all of these features will be useful to you, but it does make sense to try and figure out if a particular feature adds value to your business and make your dollar go further. The agenda for today is pretty straightforward. So we're going to look at features and enhancements that were released in 2022 and in early 2023. Not all of them. We're going to look at a small subset, and they fall into these 4 buckets. So streamlining your CRM configurations, we're going to look at data sharing then. Third, we're going to go to everyone's favorite automation and then process management. And we're going to end by looking at a few field level enhancements and an improvement in translation support. We'll be using the enterprise edition for our demos. As and when I bring up a feature, I'll let you know which editions support that feature. Thankfully, you don't have just me here today. We have an awesome team of product experts with us. We have Vishal, Aishwarya, Ajit, Mohammed Imran, and Sharath Kumar with us to help answer your questions. Like I said, the goal is to help you extract more value from your subscription. So please don't feel shy. Please bombard the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. So let's get started. Streamlining your CRM configurations. So we've made two changes related to this. One is a brand new feature, and the other is an enhancement to an existing feature. So let's get started with the first feature, or rather an old problem, configuration creep. Let's take custom views as an example. Really useful feature. It's available in different modules. Using a custom view, you can view a subset of the records in that module instead of all the records, right? So your SDR, instead of having to scroll through an endless series of leads, they can just view the leads created today with the score between X and Y, right? Now, if you open a brand new CRM account, this is what you would see. These are all the system-defined views, and you have the option of creating new custom views. In enterprise editions and above, you can create an unlimited number of custom views. So it's no surprise that if you fast forward a few years, you end up with a scenario like this, right? Instead of scrolling through an endless series of records, you're now going to be scrolling through an endless series of custom views. So how did this happen? There are lots of reasons. Sales managers usually come up with ad hoc requirements. People usually don't name their custom views properly, so there's going to be a lot of duplication. Whatever the reason, your CRM is now bloated with a lot of outdated or duplicate configurations. What is the effect of these surplus configurations? Pretty obvious ones are system performance. You have more things to load. Productivity of users, they have more things to scroll through. Your CRM is unlimited as far as custom use is concerned, but there are lots of limits for other features. And if you keep adding configurations, you're going to be hitting those limits frequently. And the risk of unintended errors is going to increase. For example, if you have a workflow rule that's supposed to fire during a particular time period and you haven't deleted it, you'd be like, yeah, that date is passed, so nothing's going to happen from it. Now, say a sales rep is entering data and makes a mistake and enters the wrong date. Now that workflow is going to fire. Your lead is going to get an email with a template from, I don't know, 10 years ago and talking about a feature that we've already phased out, right? Pretty disastrous. So how do you deal with these surplus configurations? Pretty simple, you clear them. Now to do this, the process is simple, but it's super tedious. You have to go to the individual feature. For custom views, you have to go to individual modules. For something like workflow rules, you go to setup and you go to automation workflow rules. Then you have to identify the configurations that you want to delete. Once you've identified them, you delete them one by one. We do have mass delete options for reports and templates, but for most other features, you'll have to do this one by one. Once you're done with one feature, you'll have to repeat this entire cycle again for all the features before you clear your CRM system of bloat. Now, let me give you a quick demo to show how tedious this is. So this is a live CRM account. Let me go to the deals module. Let's say we have a product manager named Keith Martin, and he wants me to delete all the custom views created by him. So I go to my custom view. Let me select this one. Okay. So first I have to check if Keith's created this. Yep, it's made by Keith Martin. Let me delete it. Yes, delete. Great, I've deleted one. I have to go here. Another custom view. Here. Check. Yep, Keith Martin. Delete. Yes, delete. Just in case you're not already irritated by this point, let me do one more. You go to edit, check if it's by Keith. Yes, it's by Keith. You delete it. Right? So it took us all that effort to just delete 3 custom views. So what have we done to address this scenario? In 2022, we introduced an all-new feature called Admin Tools. It's available in Enterprise Edition and above. So what does an admin tool give you? It gives you an interface where you can just select a feature instead of having to run around in your CRM. Once you've selected the feature, you can use criteria and identify outdated features. We have usual features, but we also have some special ones like last accessed in case of custom views and last executed in case of workflow rules. And once you sort of filtered your rotated configurations, you can select all and mass delete in one go, right? Seems pretty sweet. Let's look at this in action. Okay, so same scenario. I go to setup, data administration, admin tools. I have my custom views. So we were deleting it in the deals module. And the criteria was that it was created by Keith Martin. Okay, so we have 31 custom views. Let's delete them all. All delete custom views. Yes, delete. And we are done. In less time than it took me to delete 3 custom views in the normal way, I've deleted 31 custom views. If you want to know what you've deleted, you can click this history of deletion. And you can see here 31 custom views have been deleted. If you want to know exactly which custom views were deleted, you could always go to setup, data administration, and audit log. And you have the list of all the custom views that I deleted just now. So pretty cool feature. Now in 2022, when we introduced the feature, we supported templates, custom views, workflows, and reports. Now, just the previous month, we've added support for roles, profiles, and web forms. So we hope you try out this feature and you let us know what you liked, what you don't like, what works, what doesn't work, and we'll do our best to fold them into our future changes. And we also have help docs related to this tool that you can use. So moving on to the next issue, deploying complex configurations. Again, let's start with an example, wizards. Everybody loves wizards, especially those who have to work with data-intensive modules. So instead of having to stare at a field, at a wall of fields, you can break them down into screens that are connected to each other and that you can save as drafts, right? Super useful feature. End users love it. Now, most of our audience is, they are CRM administrators. So when you say wizards to them, this is not what they see. What they see is this: a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to configure, and consequently, a lot of chance for error. Now, a complex configuration needn't just be something like a wizard where you have a lot of things to configure, a lot of moving parts. A complex configuration could instead be something simple, but that is connected to a lot of other features in your CRM. A classic example is a pick list field. So you usually use it to denote a category or a step in a process. And this is usually connected to workflow rules. It's the basis for blueprints. You use it in templates, etc. So when you're making a change to a pick list, for example, if you're mapping dependencies, right? So you map dependencies between 2 pick lists, which is basically establishing a parent-child relationship between them. Classic example is you choose a country in the parent pick list and the child pick list, the options get filtered appropriately. So this is again something that is complex because if you don't do the mapping properly, you're going to face issues. Workflows that used to work may end up breaking. So when it comes to complex configurations, how do you safely use them in your CRM? In 2016, we introduced a feature called Sandbox to address this situation. So Sandbox is basically a twin of your production environment where you can try out all your features. And once you're happy, you can deploy it to production. And in 2021, we added support for multiple Sandbox accounts. And now in 2023, we've added support for wizards, tags, and map dependencies in Sandbox accounts. Sandboxes are supported in Enterprise Edition and above. So let's have a quick demo where I show you this deployment. So I go to Setup, I go to Sandbox. Let's go to Development Sandbox. If I click Go to Sandbox, you can see that this is basically a replica of my production environment, but you can see the tag here saying it's a development sandbox. And I can do anything, all my craziness, whatever it is that I want to do, I can do it in this sandbox, and it will not affect a thing in your production environment. Right? It's a pretty useful feature. So let's say I just want to deploy, not all of them, just the ones that I want. Experimental line, say I want this layout. Let's see, map dependency field. Okay, this is linked to experimental line. Let's deploy this as well. Let's deploy these 3 tags related to the contact module. Let's deploy this wizard. If I click deploy changes to production, it will check if it's going to cause an issue in production environment. If not, everything is qualified, and I click yes, proceed. That's it. Now the deployment is in progress and it's already completed. So think about it. This is going to save you time when it comes to, you're going to save time in 2 parts, right? One is in creating a realistic environment and the testing of your features, and 2 is in reconfiguring all of that back into production environment. So we have resources related to creating sandboxes, working with them and deploying them. So please make use of these resources. And let's move on to this part. So with these 2 changes, we have kind of closed the loop when it comes to configuration in your CRM. So whenever you want to try something out, you can always use your sandbox accounts. And once you're completely happy, you've tested it out, you're happy with the way it works, you deploy it to the production environment and use it for hopefully a long time. But everything has an end. And once the configuration is outdated or useless, you can always use your admin tools to delete them easily. So configurations are awesome. Everyone, especially CRM admins, we love them. But nobody has ever called configuration the new gold. That privilege belongs to data, and your CRM is full of data. Now, data is useful only when it helps you make better decisions or make decisions faster. And you can only do that when the data is available to you. So let's take the example of closing a deal. During the process of closing a deal, you'd want to share your data with the different teams that are involved in that process so that everyone is aligned and we can close deals faster and better. Now, to do this, we have a feature called data sharing roles in your CRM. So I can share records from different roles or groups to other roles or groups. And this is super useful. So again, continuing with our previous example, the records of a deals module are usually owned by someone having a role related to sales. So with data sharing enabled, you can share it with people belonging to other roles or other groups, and everyone has access to the records in the deals module. That's just one catch. So let's say a deal is moving through the pipeline. What happened to the data? It was shared to all the roles all the time. Now, when you think about it, a customer success person does not care about a deal until it's been closed and won. Legal team doesn't even care if the deal is won or lost. They just want to be involved during the contract related stages. Product teams want to be involved in demos. And marketing team, maybe they want to be involved in the beginning when you're preparing some material, and towards the end when you've closed a deal as won or lost, so that they can optimize their marketing campaigns. But nobody wants to be involved throughout the process except the sales team. So to address scenarios like this, we've added support for criteria and data sharing rules. So as you can see here, when the stage is proposal or negotiation, we are sharing the records of that module to the role of finance executive, right? So with this criteria support enabled, your data will be shared and unshared based on pre-configured criteria. If the pre-configured criteria is the stage of a process, the data will be shared and unshared accordingly. So again, let's take a quick demo to see this in action. So data sharing rules is available in setup, security control, data sharing settings, and we have all these data sharing rules pre-configured. Let's look at product manager. So you can see here when the stage of the deal, it's needs analysis or value proposition, it's going to be shared to users belonging to the role of product manager and their subordinates, right? So I think you'll remember Keith Martin, whose custom views we deleted. So this is Keith's homepage. If you go to the deals module, you can see that it's empty. Keith is a product manager and he doesn't want to know about a deal until it's in a particular stage. So this is our sales rep and this is the deals module for that sales rep. So let's move this deal from qualification to needs analysis. Okay, so if we look at Keith's deals module, yep, you'll now be able to see that record here, right? And Keith will be able to give his input, he'll be able to add notes, whatever. And let's move this deal to value proposition. Now, again, based on our data sharing rule, Keith is still going to have access to the deal, this deal's record in this stage. Now let's move it to identify decision makers. Keith does not want to know about the record now. And if you go to his deals module and you refresh it, the record is no longer shared with him. So this is a pretty cool feature. This is a very simple use case. I'm pretty sure with all the CRM admins here, you can come up with a lot more use cases for this feature. Again, we have resources related to setting up data sharing rules and sharing records that you can make use of. Okay, moving on. If your sales reps could design a CRM, this is what it would look like, right? It would just be a tool that will allow them to get some basic information, some contact information, so that they can contact the customers and close deals quickly. Unfortunately, reality is very different. Between calls, they'll have to add notes, they'll have to move deals between stages, they'll have to schedule stuff, they'll have to add data and fields, etc. So it's obvious that the more of these non-sales tasks you automate, the more time your sales reps have to do what they do best, which is selling. The most obvious tool to do this in Zoho CRM is a workflow rule. So workflow rule is pretty simple. You have two components. You have an event which triggers the workflow rule. And once it's triggered, you have a set of actions that will be executed either immediately or in the near future. So it is obvious that if you increase the kinds of events that can trigger workflows, and you increase the kinds of actions that you can execute as part of workflows, you can cover more use cases in your CRM. And we've done just that. You can now trigger workflows based on note-related events and contents of notes. You can trigger workflows based on section updates. So a form is usually broken down into different sections. Obvious example is, say, contact information is a section which will have phones, emails, etc. Address information will be another section with address-related fields. You have technographic information, demographic information, whatever it is. You get the idea. So previously, you used to be able to trigger workflows based on field updates. Now, if a section, any of the field within a section is updated, you can trigger workflows based on that. And in terms of actions, we used to support tasks. Now we've added support for meetings and calls. So all the components of your activities module are now supported in terms of action. Again, let's look at a quick demo for this. So I go to setup. I go to workflow rules. Let's look at this pre-configured one. So this is pretty simple. So when a note is added and the note contains the words meeting and hash scheduled, a meeting is going to be scheduled automatically. Now, say I'm unsure about when the meeting is going to happen, I have another condition. So if the note content contains meeting and hash task, it's going to create a task saying, hey, you have to schedule a meeting with this person of this company, so do it, right? So let's look at this. Let's go to the leads module. Let's pick Tressa. Okay. So I just got up a call with Tressa, and I'm going to add a note at a great call. It's a meeting with us, hash schedule, right? And let me just save this note. You look at the timeline, you can see that a meeting has automatically been added once the note was added. So let me just refresh so that I can show this to you. If you go to open activities, you can see that this meeting has been added automatically, right? You sent an email, it's available here, etc. Cool. So let's check out the other condition as well. Task part. So let's say demo meeting and hash task. Let me save this note. Again, we added a note and a task was automatically created. Let me refresh so that you can see it in the open activities. Yep, this task has been added automatically. Your sales reps are already adding notes as part of the process. Now you can fire workflow rules based on that. Now let's look at one more workflow rule, the one based on section edit. So this is again super simple. If a contact is changing their address information, we're going to add a tag saying that there's been a recent address change, and we'll send an email notification to that contact saying, we've changed your address in our CRM. Please check if it's okay. So let's look at this. Let me go to a contact. Okay, which one do I pick? Kepler. Okay. Okay. So let me edit her address. Okay, Anchorage, Alaska. Okay, let me just change this to Icetown. Change the mailing address to 123 Main Street. Okay, so I've changed the address and I've saved it. And you can see the tag has been added automatically and that an email has been sent to Kepler through our role. So again, pretty useful feature. I've been playing around with toy use cases. You guys are probably, your minds are buzzing with use cases that you can use. We have a pretty beautiful tutorial related to workflow rules on the CRM website. You can make use of that resource. And we also have help docs related to workflow rules. Now we're moving on to the next change. So CRM admins, you're probably familiar with this. This is a blueprint, right? It's a feature in Zoho CRM that allows you to implement your business process within the CRM. Sales reps or customer success person doesn't have to carry that process in their head and make mistakes. One word that you'll see constantly associated with blueprints is the word internal, right? It's for internal users, it's for internal processes, etc. So keep that in mind. As we look at another feature, this is called a portal. This is the opposite. It's completely external facing. It's for self-service. So your partners, vendors, customers, etc., can make changes in their records, look at a few fields, etc., using portals. Now, as your customers and vendors, etc., are being included in your business processes, because it just frankly makes the process faster and easier for everyone involved, we haven't had the change happen in Blueprint. So if your portal user wants to make a change or update a status, the portal user will have to tell the internal user, and the internal user will have to make the changes in the records and update the status in the Blueprint, right? This is, needless legwork. So we have included portal users in Blueprints in Zoho CRM. So transitions are basically paths between different stages of your process. Previously, only internal users could move a record from one stage to the next. Now, with this support for portal users, you can add portal users as owners of transitions. So let's look at a quick demo. Let me go to Setup, process management blueprint. So this is a very simple process. Let's say you're selling a product and your customer wants to know how to use it. So they raise a training request where they request for slots. And once the slot has been requested, a member of your training team will finalize the slot, right? And once the training is over, they'll mark it as closed and training complete. Now, in case the slots are unavailable, you'll ask them to repick slots, and then you'll go through the process all over again. And after your slots are finalized, if the customer wants to change slots, they can do that as well. So you needn't worry about these other parts. The basic part, the slots requested, slots finalized, and once training is complete, mark training is complete. So pretty simple process. So let's look at this. So I have a custom module called training requests. And this is a portal user, right? So this is what they see. They've just raised a request where they're saying, we want slots for these days, these many seats. One of them needs a premium trainer, and they raised this request. Now, a member of my training team can open that record, look at the dates, and be like, oh no, we don't have slots for these dates. So I'll say, slots unavailable. Please pick a date after, let's say, 11th May, right? And I share this with the external user and I save it. And I update this, I'll say slots are unavailable. Now your portal user, now blueprints, you can do a lot of things with it, like you can send email notifications as well. So your customer is going to get a notification, it's going to come and check this training request. And it's going to see, okay, slots are unavailable, I have to pick a date. Cool, let me do that. Let me edit. Let me just go 1 week after the previously selected dates, keep everything else the same, and I save it. Great. So now the portal user can request slots again. And again, an email will be fired off to a member of your training team. Come in and look at this and be like, oh, okay, we do have slots for these. Let me finalize it. And you have your training done. And once it's over, you close it. And that's the end of your process. Now, imagine if we did not have the portal user involved in this process, right? The portal user would have to call the training person or email them with the new dates. The training person has to update those fields and remove the status. It's a lot of work, which is quite frankly unnecessary. So with this addition, we are extending the scope of blueprints in Zoho CRM. We have a tutorial for blueprints as well that you can use. And we also have help docs related to blueprints and portals that you can make use of. Now we've come to the last section, which is enhancements in customization. Basically, some new fields, some changes in existing fields, and an improvement in translation support. So let's dive in. We have a voice recording field added to the calls module in Zoho CRM. Now, after emails, you probably call customers or prospects all the time. SDRs call prospects, sales reps call customers, customer success teams call customers, etc. And a lot of these calls are recorded, probably in some other app. And when you want to know more details about a particular call or learn from it, you will come to the CRM, be like, okay, I had a call at this time, and then I'll go to the other app and then filter the recording and then pick the one. It's a lot of work. Now, we've added a voice recording field to take away that work. So everything related to a call is now going to be available within that call record. So your sales rep can, self-critique and improve their performance. Your sales managers can coach sales reps or share call records that have great performances, etc. So super useful feature. Let's look at a quick demo. So this is available only in the calls module. So if I go there, go to a record, And you can see this field available here. Now, this is not how it would look in the beginning, right? It would basically be a URL field. And once you enter your URL and save it, you'll have the player available. Yeah, pretty useful feature. So the next thing that we're going to look at is a loss of context issue. So your modules in your CRM are connected with each other through something known as lookup fields. CRM admins, you already know it. This is for others. So your contacts are connected to your accounts, and both of these are connected to deals. And this is very important because it's not just, oh, it's connecting one module to another. A lookup field is basically adding a layer of context to the data in a particular module, right? So if I just have two records related to deals and they both have the same, amount, pretty much the same closing date, which one do I prioritize? Now, if you have the deal connected by lookup field to contacts and accounts, you could quickly know that, oh, deal 2 is connected to a high value account where the contact is a decision maker, and deal 1 is connected to an account that is not as high value, and the contact, a champion, is not in a position of decision making, right? So let's say I create a quote. It's connected by lookup fields to contacts, accounts, and deals. Once I convert a quote to a sales order, this context is carried over automatically. I don't need to do a thing. Now, if I convert a sales order into an invoice, this context is carried over, right? Yeah, not exactly. As you can see, we have a missing link, right? Your invoices did not have a native deals lookup field. So users had to burn up a custom lookup field to do this. This may seem like a minor issue, but nobody has enough lookup fields. You could go to completely unrelated discussions in the communities and people would be like, hey, this feature is awesome, but what about some more lookup fields? Okay. So now we have added a native deals lookup field in the invoices module so that you don't have to burn up that extra custom lookup field. This is available in professional edition and above. Again, let me give you a quick demo. So I go to sales orders. I already have one. You can see that it's connected to accounts, contacts, and deals. Let me convert it into an invoice. Here in the invoices module now, I converted the sales order into an invoice, and you can see the deal related information has been carried over by default, right? So this may seem minor, but it is pretty useful. And now we're going to the last field related change. This again is something that looks small, but it's pretty important. The reason for loss field is now a pick list. It used to be a description field, but we've changed it into a pick list. The reason for loss is one of those OG fields in a CRM, like lead source at the beginning of the process. Reason for loss is always going to be present at the end. Now, previously, when you close a deal as lost, you get a pop-up and then you enter a description for reason for loss. And once you save it, a note will be added like this one, right? This is super useful. It allows your sales reps to express themselves and tell you why that deal was lost. So for analyzing individual deals, super useful. When you want to get a quick read of why multiple deals were lost, super useless, right? So if you have a lot of notes, you'll have to read through all of them to figure out that the issue in all of them was related to pricing, right? So you'll have to go through all the notes, identify the issue, and then correct your sales process, which is, super tedious. So we've modified this into a pick list field. Again, let me go to the deals module. Right. So changing it into a pick list field not only allows you to get a quick read, but you can use it in a lot of other places in your CRM. So you can see that I've added a filter where the reason for loss is wrong target, right? I can quickly get the deals that were lost due to this reason instead of having to read through, 100 notes and figure out that 3 of those deals were lost due to wrong target. Not only here, I can use it in reports, and you can also use it in a feature that we saw a few minutes back, right, your data sharing rules. So let's say I have a data sharing rule where if the reason for loss is wrong target, it's going to be automatically shared with your marketing team. So they can get started with modifying their lead gen tactics instead of you having to go through all that menial work and then sharing with them and notifying them, etc. So again, pretty useful feature. And we've come to the last change, an improvement in translation support. So Zoho CRM supports around 28 languages. What that means is that the system-defined module names, or subform names, field labels, etc., are translated into those languages. But if you add custom modules, custom fields, custom labels, etc., those are not going to be translated. To help you in that scenario, we've added a feature called translation that was available for a long time. But using translation, you could add translated values for field labels and pick list values, but for nothing else. So recently, we've increased the scope, and you can now add translated names for module names, subform labels, and related list labels. So again, let me give you a quick demo. Let me go to setup. Let me just show you this first. Under customization, you have translation. And the process is pretty simple. You export the language that you want. It will be a text file with all the labels. You add the translated names to that, and you import it back, and your CRM will have the reflected changes. So I've disabled French. Let me just change the language of my CRM to French. Save it. Okay, so as you can see, everything's been translated, but not really everything. You can see our training requests module, which is a custom module that we saw before. Still says training requests, which I'm pretty sure is not French. So let's go to translations and let's enable this one. And let's give a quick refresh. And now when you see it, you can see the training request has been translated. So with this change, you can make your CRM entirely your own. And with that, we've come to the end of my part of the webinar. I hope it was not too boring. And now it's time for Q&A. So please, bang away at your keyboards and keep our product experts busy.
Thank you, Karthik, for that fantastic session. It was really informative. I think these are seemingly smaller updates, but have quite a huge impact when implemented, especially admin tools, reason for loss. It's a great, insightful functionality. So we have a few questions that have been coming up. I request the product experts could answer this question about, meeting time. So while scheduling, your meetings, workflows, via your notes, how does the system function? Can one of you please explain? How does this others, if you could elaborate on your answer?
Yes. So when you are configuring your workflows, when you choose add meeting as an action, have an option to choose from the list of record fields. So if, say for example, you're using leads module to create a workflow, and you can choose between create a time, modify time, and other date fields that you have. And for the meetings time, you can choose say for example created time plus 1 business days from that created time, and you can configure based on that. So whenever the record is whenever the workflow is triggering, the meeting will be created based on what you have configured, and it is not system defined, and it is based on what is configured in the workflow.
Okay, got it. So it's the trigger that is, done by the note, whereas the actions are already, what it follows is what you've already configured in the workflow rules. Am I right?
Yes.
All right. So I think that should clear up a couple of questions for our attendees. What you put in the notes will set off the rule. However, the actions will be executed based on what you have configured in the workflow rule. So that is what decides the time. Thank you for that, Imran. And we have a bunch of more questions coming up. So there is someone who has asked about Sandbox. So I need to know about Sandbox. What is its purpose exactly? So just to quickly summarize the purpose of Sandbox, it's a test bed environment. So instead of deploying or instead of creating your workflows or blueprints or certain complex configurations directly in your production setup, Sandbox is a test bed environment. So you don't have reason to fail, or there is a cushion for failure. Even if a workflow rule is not so great, it is not going to affect your production setup. You can test your rules, test your configurations in the Sandbox, and once you're satisfied, you can deploy them to the production setup. So that is the purpose of Sandbox. And the enhancement, the subject that Karthik talked about was enhancements in the Sandbox. So earlier you were able to test a set of configurations. Now we have added capabilities. You can test even more configurations, as he had mentioned in the sessions. That is the purpose of Sandbox. And so I think that is out of the way. Would the system include WhatsApp in the future? Is there a way to track discussion notes for WhatsApp in the system? Do we have something in the roadmap?
So I'll have a check with my team as well.
Right. So I think what we do understand is there is WhatsApp integration for business, but further WhatsApp capabilities based on requests, I think our product teams will be ready to evaluate and give them to the users once it is ready. So I think this is something we will take straight to our discussion. So there are many questions which are a little case by case. We probably have to analyze them based on unique needs. So those questions we definitely. So perhaps, is it possible to change the option in the new reason for lost field? If so, where do I update? So Vishal.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Yes, the options in the reason for loss field can be customized. So customize these options. The admin needs to navigate to modules and fields in setup, and then to deals module, and then the fields section, and then to the reason for loss pick list field. And in that pick list field, the options can be customized. So this answers the other question also. So where
Right. So I guess the concern here is now that this is a pick list, and if they have already been using reason for loss as the description field, I guess if I'm right, we just have to start using the reason for loss pick list, populate the reasons and choose them, and keep the as reference. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Okay, so just bottom line is there is no migration per se. You can start using them, you can start customizing the options, and keep the retain your description field in case you want to refer. We have an interesting question. Is the triggering of workflows that is now built in something that only used to be done previously in Orchestly? So just to throw more context, may I invite one of our product experts to answer this, please? Could you please clarify? Is this triggering of workflows something that only used to be done previously in Orchestly?
Hi, Wag. This is Imran here. So, workflows is the feature to automate your business process. So, it is not done via Orchestly, and it's a built-in feature in Zoho CRM. So, Orchestly is a completely different product, and we in Zoho CRM have workflow rules to automate business process. So, hope this clarifies the question.
All right. Thank you. Yes, it does. And are the workflows Zoho Flow and Orchestly now built into CRM?
For this, I have to check with my team.
Yes, definitely. So we can always, get back with the right answers right after the session. So here we have another quick question. Why does blueprint transition? Why are blueprint transitions creation time-based? So there is more flexibility needed for modifying already created blueprints. So is there somebody who can answer that for us?
Hi, Max. I'll check with this and I'll let you know what's with the blueprint team.
Definitely, definitely. Perhaps we need to analyze this on a case by case basis. So we'll definitely get in touch with you to see what is causing the issue and try and resolve it. So thank you for that question. So it is questions like these that help us make our system better and more robust. So thanks for asking them. We'll try and get back to you and help you as much as possible. So here is another interesting question based on reason for lost deals. So I guess the question is, if you're not using the deals module, can you track that? Can you still track that? Is this reason for loss going to be extended for custom modules? It's quite a valid question.
Hi, Wag. So yeah, so it's pretty simple. So like for deals, we thought of having a system-defined field where people can make use of this reason for loss. But if it's for another module, what the users can do is like they can create a custom pick list for as a reason for loss or for any another module. So what they can do is like if they have any stage wise, like if they have a lost reason in some other module, maybe they can trigger this reason for loss based on any layout rules, and they can also track it. So we also have this history tracking also for that pick list, so it can be done. Yeah.
Fantastic. So just to reiterate, the reason for loss field, so I guess whoever asked that question, Dua, it's not that you're going to lose something if you have it on a custom module. You can still very well track the reason for loss by creating a custom pick list field and enabling history tracking just to have it mimic the predefined field. So what has happened is in the deals module, by default, we had reason for loss as a description field. So to help you measure and quantify that reason for loss, we made it a default pick list field. So if you want to extend this capability to another module where you're tracking deals, you can very well create a custom pick list field and mimic the same functionality by using your custom field and enable history tracking. So the functionality is very much possible for a custom module as well. You just need to create that field yourself. That's about it. So I hope that helps. Thank you for clarifying that, Kaushik. So there is a general question about CRM training. So we do have some, standard webinars and courses and materials that can help you get started with CRM. So we will be happy to include, a link or a basic set of materials for you to get started. Definitely, we'll do that along with this follow-up email. All right, then. So here we have just somebody asking a question about custom views. So as the admin, can I control the custom views for the rest of our users, or do they have to create their own custom views while logged into their account? So just to briefly answer that, while creating a custom view, you have an option to, decide the permissions, whether it needs to be visible only for you or for certain select profiles. So when you create a custom view, right before you publish it, you have a strip that decides, whom to give access to it, or whether it should be visible only to you. You can make use of that to extend the access to others in the account. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thanks a lot for answering these questions. I know some of these could, be something. A few requests could be, answered only in our roadmap. But that's the very reason why we hold these webinars, to understand what our customers want, even if they are not present at in our system right now. We'll certainly work towards it. So I'm pretty sure that you have learned, what you've taken away from this session would be put to good use. And please don't, think that this is the end of this. We have 2 more sessions. That is what better you can do with customer engagement in Zoho CRM. So that is the main subject for tomorrow. So please do come back, stay tuned. And on Wednesday, we'll discuss, what's new in our ZIA capabilities in Zoho CRM. So keep your questions coming in. We'll definitely keep emailing you the answers and send you all these materials post this series. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for joining this session. Thanks for all your questions. We hope it was useful. And